Hey guys, Happy New Year! Welcome to the Great Company Show. This is a show which I'm really excited about, and it's a brand new year, 2025, which is so exciting. Now, if you're new to the show, welcome. If you're an OG, you know exactly what the show is about. It's about connecting with some incredible people. I really feel that in this world that we have lost the idea of connection because everything has become disconnected. And actually, great company is the thing that we are after all the time. This is a very special episode. My producer Jemima, who helps create and does the show, who is actually standing right here off camera. She's going to come in a second. We decided to do a special episode where actually we flipped it around and Jemima interviewed me. Which was a bit daunting and a bit scary because normally I interview everyone else, and it's a bit, I suppose, does everyone want to hear my story? I don't know, but we did it. I think it went okay. Jemima, come in and tell us how it went.
Hello.
How do you think it went?
I think it went really well. How do you think it went?
Well, that's not what I want from a producer. I want you to say it went really well.
It went really, really well. Jamie was very open. Jamie shared things that you've never shared.
Yeah, we talked about babies and we talk about anxiety and Made in Chelsea and loads of different things. So this is a little special episode for you, and we're going to be back next week on Wednesday for our usual episode, and we're kicking off with amazing guests, which we cannot wait for. But if you like this episode, let us know. We would love you to follow us on social media and send us some messages. You can slide into our DMs.
Let me go.
You can slide in our DMs at Great Company Podcast, or you can send us an email, greatcompany@jampopproductions.co.uk. Everything is in the show description. And if you haven't subscribed to the show yet, it's the beginning of the year, 2025. Do something different. Click that subscribe button and enjoy what we have to offer, because the guests this year are going to be incredible and insightful and entertaining and so much. Okay, here we go. Please enjoy this episode of Great Company with me, Jamie Laing. Well, hello, whoa.
Wow.
That was a good start.
Impressive.
Okay, so this is an interesting one today.
Hello. Let's start there.
Well, we should start there, hello. But we should also start because this is an interesting one, because this is our Christmas episode.
Yes. And end of series. This is 40 plus 1.
It's 40 episodes.
Plus 1. This is 41st episode.
Are you serious?
No. Yes. Such a simple question. I failed. No. Yes. The answer is yes.
Okay. Well, before we kick off, we should probably say a couple of things. This is a very special episode because this is the first time that you have been seen on camera.
Yes. So hello YouTube. If you only watch on YouTube, you won't know who I am. But on the audio only version, me and Jamie always do an intro. So I'm the producer of the show. So hello YouTube.
Would you have a nickname for yourself as well?
I'm trying PJ, producer Jemima, but we're yet to see if that one's floated. And
Jemima, you have been with me from the very pretty much birth of Jampot Productions.
Yep.
You've helped with lots of shows, and you and I started this show together. You were producer, and we've built it together.
Yeah, my idea to put him on naked on a horse.
Yeah, that was your idea for our little promo for the show. And today we thought we'd do a special episode because instead of having a guest, you're going to interview me.
Well, you're the guest because we figured people who listen to the show love you.
Okay.
And there's a lot of things we want to know.
And I'm going to put it out there. You can go as deep as you want. You can ask any question you want.
I have some.
Okay, you've got some. You can really ask anything.
Okay, I will.
If it's too deep, well, nothing's too deep. First, you can't offend me, and you could never offend me.
Imagine if you walked out.
Be quite good, actually.
It would be so good.
Yeah, it'd be really good. But you can ask anything you want. I'll be as honest as I possibly can. If you want to go deeper on any question, you can. You know me pretty well anyway already.
You're gagging for it.
Yeah, but a little bit nervous.
Are you?
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe a little bit nervous. I don't know why. But
I'm nervous.
Why are you nervous?
I think what you do every week is actually, you make it look easy, but it's hard.
Well, explain that to me.
I think interviewing is like you have to be listening and thinking ahead. It's like really, really active listening and trying to see what route you could go down. But also, I don't know, I think there's a lot going on in your head. And I think it is a hard skill that people underestimate how difficult that is. So,
but
do you
know what you've taught me?
What have I taught you?
Jemima's taught me that silence is good.
Yes.
So I now listen much more than I used to.
Yeah.
Silence is fine, so I'm comfortable in silence. And the second thing is is that as a sort of entertainer, which I suppose I am, you kind of slip into the area of wanting to be the star of the show. And when it's an interview show, you're not the star, the guest is. And so it's very hard to remember that. So you have to step away and be the guide for the guest, whoever it is, to be the star of the show.
Yeah.
And if you are someone like me who wants to be center of attention all the time, that was quite tricky to step back.
But today's your day. You're going to be centre of attention.
Yeah, I can't wait. Well, actually, now I feel a bit weird because I don't really want to be center of attention.
Well, you are. So I thought we should probably swap sides because that's the interviewer side and this is the guest side. So should we swap?
We're going to swap sides?
We're going to swap sides.
All right, let's do it.
Ooh.
Okay. Oh, it feels different this side.
Does
Wow.
it?
Yeah, it feels different this side.
Yeah, you like it? I'm suddenly really nervous on this side.
Why?
I wasn't nervous on that side.
We'll do a swap back.
No, it's fine.
Okay, this is a little bit awkward. Hello, my name is Jamie Laing, and I'm great company.
I want to know,
Yeah.
obviously, people know you from a little show called Made in Chelsea.
Yeah.
Were you ever asked to do series 1? Because you were series 2, right?
Yeah, I was series 2. So my friends Spencer and Caggie and Millie McIntosh and like Hugo Taylor, they were all asked to do series 1. And it was kind of floated around that like, oh, there's Jamie here and things like that, because they basically went to a nightclub and they saw who was on tables in nightclubs. And
Yeah.
for anyone, a table in a nightclub was basically you'd buy a table and dance around a bucket of ice and you'd pay money for it and you'd think you were the coolest cats in town. And actually you were probably the biggest losers in town.
Bucket of ice.
Yeah, and the producers went to find those type of people, and Spencer was a promoter for a club. So he was great, and I think he's still to this day the best casted reality star ever.
Oh, yeah.
Like in any part of the world, anywhere, Spencer Matthews is the best reality star because he got it straight away.
Yeah.
And most people didn't get it straight away. I didn't get it for like 3 years.
Really?
No.
What did you think was going on when you first started?
I thought they were just following you with cameras and just like following your lives, which they are, but they're also not. And Spencer knew straight away that it was like a dramatic entertainment show.
Yeah.
He knew it straight away. So it was kind of floated around. And to be honest, when they first started, I remember sitting with Rosie Fortescue in a nightclub. And I said to her, why are you doing that show? And she said, well, I'm doing it because this reason, this reason, and this reason. I went, it's such a bad decision. Bad decision. And then when I was at Leeds University, we all sat down and watched the first ever episode.
Were you still at uni?
I was still at uni at the time. And we watched the first ever episode. And in my head, I went, that looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then when I left, or when I was leaving university, they got in contact and said, we really want you to do series 2 now. And I secretly went for meetings and secretly started like considering it. And that's what happened.
How did they find? Did someone recommend? Had you met them?
Well, it was a TV show. It was going to be called...
You didn't reach out to them.
I didn't reach out to them.
Okay.
It was a TV show called Smokers to begin with, because it was like people who smoked in a smoking section. And then it became Chelsea Girls, because that's why Caggie was the voice of it. They wanted to replicate The Hills, but in London.
okay.
So it was, for anyone who doesn't know what Made in Chelsea is, it's like a TV show around the sort of privileged young kids of London, typically living in West London area called Chelsea. I mean, vomit into a bucket.
I loved it.
It's amazing. It was amazing. And they reached out to me and said, oh, hi, because I had dated Caggie and Millie and I were friends and I was great friends with Spencer. So they were like, we want you to come in and do series 2. And I ummed and ahed for ages. Typical me, not me, going to make a decision. And then I went on holiday with my great friend Cozzy, who actually is in the office.
Oh, yeah?
And his mum is a person called Sophie Turner-Lang. Sophie Turner-Lang was probably one of the most powerful people in television. She helped run Sky, she helped run Endemol Shine, and I was on holiday with her in France, and she said, don't do that show.
Really?
And I went, why? And she said, because you'll be hated. It's a TV show about being posh. Do not do it. And so I did it because everyone was saying don't do it. And I also thought that like if everyone's saying don't do something, that must be an opportunity to do something.
Yeah.
So I did it, and it was a lot of fun for the first few years. It was the best.
Was there ever anything that was not able to be aired?
Yeah.
Can you remember any of them?
Okay, from like one thing where it was like the end of season. But do you remember that very famous scene where Millie McIntosh said, "Thank you to my friend Rosie Fortescue for that moment and for
Iconic.
cheating on my boyfriend." That bit.
Yeah.
We all go outside to a firework display.
Yeah.
Right? We're all having loads of extras. That a firework fired into the crowd of all of us and blew up around us, and everyone was like screaming and running around. Oh my God! What the hell? That was like quite a so something like humorous. No one was hurt, but humorous something to that. To like things like there was a very huge scene. I think a cast member sued Made in Chelsea. So can I say? I probably can. There was a person. There was a person called. Maybe I shouldn't name them just because it's unfair. There was a new girl who came onto the show who was quite religious, and she said, she sort of claimed she was a virgin and all these things, and that she was dedicated to God, and great, it was amazing. And she flirted with the guys, and everyone tried to take her on dates. Turns out she had a boyfriend the entire time, who she'd been with for a long time, and she wasn't a virgin, and all these things. And there was a scene when she was chatting to a guy and her boyfriend then walks in. She didn't even realize he was doing it. And she walked in and he walked in and said, "You've been lying. I'm your boyfriend. You've been living with me. I've seen on this television show that you're saying all of these lies. You're living a double life."
Yeah.
She screamed, walked out, and it was never aired because she threatened to sue because it was slander. So even to extremes like that. That was wild, that moment. Some of the scenes that happened were absolutely wild.
Really?
Yeah, like it was crazy. And there were no rules. We're just kids getting drunk and like it was a wild time.
But how much did it like infiltrate to your real? Because you're filming a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the gaps in between, like arguments that you have kind of on camera, do those like filter? Did it ruin relationships?
Yeah, I mean, what happened was that we were all great friends, but then we became like a family together. And I didn't realize at the beginning that it was an entertainment show. So you would have like...
You just thought it was a fly on the wall documentary, right?
So we were just having a fun time, like whatever. And then I slowly started to realize it was entertainment when I was taking... I took Louise Thompson on a date, and...
I think that was the first episode I ever watched.
Yeah, I took her on a date.
Golf?
Took her golfing, but then we were sitting on the edge of a cricket field. And the producers came up to me and said, "Oh, you should kiss her." And I went, "Huh?" They went, "You should kiss her. You should definitely kiss her." And I was like, "What? And like hit now?"
Yeah.
They're like, yeah. And I was like, "Why don't she doesn't want to kiss me?" She's like, "No, she want to kiss you. We know she wants you to kiss her. You should kiss her." And in my head, I was like, "Oh, I get it. We're making a show. Of course they want me to kiss her because then that creates all the different things." And so it was a real sort of moment that clicked within me that suddenly I was like, okay, so this is an entertainment show. So then what would happen is it was real. Like it was real. Everything that we dated was real, and we weren't given scripts and all that kind of stuff. But I would, for example, Spencer and I were sort of champions at it because I would go into a scene with Spencer and something would have happened, right? That wasn't good.
Yeah.
And I would look at him before 4 cameras, 30 people, lights, everything. And I would say, "You're not going to like this." And he would go, "Oh, really?" And I go, "You're not going to like this one." And he went, "Okay, let's do it." And then we'd start talking, we'd go into the scene.
Yeah.
Or we'd then have arguments with each other that actually we did care about, but not hugely care about. We did care about. And afterwards we'd go like, "Oh, that was a good scene."
What? That's so weird.
Yeah, it was quite weird. So then what happens, and I've said this before, but the problem with that is that you're kind of giving yourself like an Uber rating every single scene you're doing.
Yeah.
And we were filming 150 days a year. That's what we were filming. It's crazy. So half of your life is a reality show. Yeah. So then because you're judging yourself every single scene you're going into, was I funny there? Was I entertaining there? Was I this? Was I that? Was I dramatic enough? You then step outside of that. Every conversation you're having with friends who aren't in the show or in normal life, you're thinking, am I fun? Am I entertaining? Am I this? Am I that? And so then your perception of what is reality TV show and what is actual real reality becomes blurred. So you don't really know the difference between the two. So you're constantly thinking you're in a reality show. So then what happens is, to me personally, is you become socially anxious.
Yeah.
Because you're constantly thinking, am I being entertaining the whole time in every single situation? So you become a recluse. So a one-on-one lunch date with one of my mates, impossible. Too intimate. Couldn't do that because I would have to sit across from you and I would have to make you laugh and make you have the best time and make you think. And if I didn't do that, the suffering that would be afterwards for me would be unbearable. So I would just never see any friends unless I was in a situation where I could drink. And then if I could drink at bars or pubs or nightclubs or whatever, absolutely fine, because the alcohol would make me less socially anxious and it'd be totally fine and I wouldn't have to worry about it. But the problem is when you start drinking that much, then that becomes an issue as well.
So during that time, can you see that you became more distant from people? What was your relationship like with your family or like your closest friends? Did you kind of...
Oh, non-existent.
Really?
Yeah, like from the age of like 22 to 27, my mum calls it the lost years.
Really?
Yeah, I turned up late to my mum's 60th. I didn't turn up to Christmas one time.
What were you doing?
Drinking, having just better things I thought to do. Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, really bad. But I was suffering heavily with anxiety.
Yeah.
And so I had to distract myself, which I now realise, with a holiday or a party or a date or whatever it was, something to distract myself from my own feelings and thoughts, whatever that was.
That's so interesting because yesterday we were doing an interview and you said, I find it easier to open up to people I don't know.
Yeah.
Which must be from that.
Yeah. Not as much anymore, but I did. So I couldn't open up to friends. I couldn't open up to anyone, but I could open up to a stranger because I wasn't going to be judged.
Yeah.
Because a stranger doesn't know who I am. So I could tell a stranger my deepest secrets.
But people did know who you are because you've got profile.
Yeah, but they didn't know who. They thought I was a fun, loving individual.
Oh, fine.
My fear was I was going to be caught out for actually who I was, which I thought was boring and not as funny and not as interesting and not as entertaining. Because if I'm not those things, then I have no currency on the TV show.
Yeah.
So I had to be all of those things in order to create this life.
Do you think that show should have had like a duty of care to people? Like, what do you think about that? Because you're not alone, I'm sure, in like your experience of reality TV. And like nowadays it is very different. So there's an argument to say it was, the first time, so they didn't know that was going to happen. But do you think, like, are you angry at all at that show for what it kind of those lost years and...
No, I'm definitely not angry. And look, in hindsight, probably, yeah, they should have been. But the flip side of it was this, is that I chose to go into it. I had a choice and I went into this television show and because I wanted to be in this world of entertainment.
But not with a full awareness of what it would do.
No, true. And there are those sides of things. But the things I got out of it were amazing. Would I be sitting here doing this with you without it? Maybe not. So there's all of those sides of things. And I think that television show, they were making an entertainment show. And yeah, there may be things that were done wrong and badly and maybe we were mistreated in certain ways. But also I probably could have left at any point and I didn't. And yeah, I think now there's a duty of care, which is amazing. There should be 100%. But when it first started, no one knew the repercussions of what reality TV did. Yeah. And reality TV is very heavy on the soul, and and I just think that kind of fame, and if you're a certain individual like me, like it's going to cause all of that crap. Do I regret it? No, not at all. Do I wish I handled things differently? Yes, for sure. Yeah. I wish I hadn't drunk as much. I wish I had paid more attention to my family, and to my mental health, because, I got to like 27 years old and everything just collapsed. But I also had the best time, and I truly think I'm unemployable 100%. And so at least I was employed by something that my brain worked with. So it's a blessing and a curse in lots of ways.
What do you think that show did to people's perception of you? What do you think people really think of you?
Oh my God. I would probably have to ask you that. What do I think people...
No, what do you think people really think of you?
The wider public think of me, or my friends, or what?
Public, yeah.
I don't know. There's probably a huge number of individuals who probably think it's that posh bloke from Made in Chelsea who's lived off his parents' money and is just inherited all this stuff and is a rich posh wanker, which I totally understand, and fair dues, because I would probably think the same. I think there's then a closer group of people who probably know that's not true and are probably thinking, now maybe that guy's done okay. Like, I think they think, oh, he's actually done okay here. So I think it's a sort of two things. I think people probably, I don't know, two things.
What about people closer to you who maybe said, don't do this, you did do it, they've watched you kind of do it, lost you for a bit, had you come back? Like, what do you think?
Well, I think now they're probably, with truth, I probably think they're proud, yeah. They're probably like, well, I think most people, my close friends, look at me and go, oh, well done. Because what happens when you do a television show like that is you take a shortcut into this amazing industry.
Yeah.
Which is the entertainment industry, which I love more than anything. But when you take a shortcut into something, it is a long road round. Whenever you shortcut anything, there's always a long road round. So I shortcutted in the industry, but it's taken me 14 years to get to a place where people kind of go, oh, okay, yeah, we can give you Radio 1 or we can get guests on who are amazing, right?
Yeah.
Before, the likes of getting some of the guests, not a freaking chance, because they see you as a reality star and they don't want to associate with you. I don't know. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Okay. All right.
Well, what I think of you.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
No, you kind of touched on it, but I think my favourite thing about you is that I find you really surprising.
Really?
I think you're really surprising. I think you are way smarter than you give off.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think you're really, really talented. And I really like when people are like, what's he like? I'm like, he's what you see on TV, but like he's also like, there's a lot of smarts. And I love that you are so happy and confident to be the butt of the joke. And I think so few people are, and that's why people love you, because you've got a very generous soul.
Oh my God, that's very kind, Jemima. So
that's by the by.
Do I say what you're like?
No.
Okay, Scorpio in you wants that.
Just tell me. Can I ask you a very personal question?
Ask me anything you want.
Babies?
Oh yeah.
Are you going to have one in the next year?
I would really like to have one. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's been a real long road.
Go on.
It's been a real long road because I was really scared of like babies.
Why?
Really scared of babies because I was really scared of commitment.
Yeah.
So I never thought I'd really get married.
Why scared of commitment? Because you just never want to be held like.
The idea of not being able to escape something. There's always a window to get out of. So boarding school, there's always a window. You do a job, there's always a way to get out of it. Starting a business, you can always quit.
You can always get divorced.
Well, yeah, but sort of that was almost a bit much of a commitment. So you can get divorced. There's always a way out. With a baby, there's no way out. When you have a kid, there is no way out. Mm-hmm. You are committed to that little human forever. Mm-hmm. And that, for me, is really quite scary.
But not scary anymore?
No, still really scary.
Okay.
The baby is still a real fear. My God. And to the point where Sophie, at one point, beginning of this year, said, oh, she thinks she's pregnant. And I had to leave the restaurant because I thought I was so stressed. I just was so stressed. Firstly, that's not a good partner.
Yeah, that's not a good move.
That's a terrible move.
I hope you've learnt from that.
It's a terrible move. It made not only me just really nervous, it made Sophie really scared because she, as a partner, you want someone secure and calm and relaxed.
Yeah.
And I'm hectic more than anything.
Yeah.
And then that made her feel really uneasy.
Yeah.
Hang on a second, we're married and do you not want kids and all these different things. So that was really scary. And then I sat down with someone and I asked them about their kid. I said, do you have kids? And she said, yes. I said, is it, how starting my question always is, how is it? Oh my God, is it all right? And she went, it's awful. And I went, huh? I went, what? I wasn't expecting that. She said, it's awful. Yeah, it's really bad. But she said to me, which was really quite clear, she said, if you want to experience every corner of life, you got to experience sadness, happiness, all these different things. I think for me personally, she said having a child is one of those corners of life. So I want to experience every corner of life. And for me, there's a corner there that you want to achieve. And that really resonated with me, that actually I want to do the same. Secondly, Sophie wants to be a mum more than anything. And I adore Sophie.
Yeah.
More, not even just like on a level of just being like a husband and wife or like a friend, like a soul. I like love her soul. And so to deny her that because of my own selfish reasons would be unfair. So as much as I have a fear for it, and I'm sure she does as well, I have to be strong for her. And I'm in a stage of like accepting it and actually now a bit more excited about it. And so I think next year, we would go for it.
That's very exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting, but it's very scary at the same time.
Do you think a part of you is a bit nervous about not being the centre of attention when a baby comes?
I don't, not so much that. It's more like, oh my God, it's more like, what if I'm a shit dad?
You'll be fine.
I don't know. What if I don't love the kid? What if the kid comes out and I don't love the baby? What happens if that happens?
You've got a whole lifetime.
I know. What happens if... do you know my other big fear? My other big fear is that like my brain is like crazy. So I think most brains don't think as much as I think.
Yeah, that's, I think, quite clear.
It really thinks, and it really moves fast, and it really is up all the time. And so, which also means that I can lean into anxiety a lot because it's a constant all the time.
Yeah.
And throughout my 20s and 30s, I've had periods where the anxiety's been quite a lot, and I've had moments of burnout.
Yeah.
And things like that. And that's quite scary because I also think my brain is my best asset because it's quite creative and those kind of things. So my really big fear is that we have a kid and my brain goes into that space, which is like so anxious or so burnt out, and I can't get out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm so worried that what happens if a baby does that to my brain? That's what I'm really scared of.
Really?
Yeah, because if I lose my brain, then I won't be able to do the things that I do because I'm not smart enough. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not artistic in terms of things. My brain is like my conversation is what I'm really good at. And if that goes, then I'm kind of depleted of anything.
That's like when we were talking about when we had Harley from Rizzle Kicks on, and he was talking about when your brain becomes your
worst enemy.
Your enemy against the thing that brings you joy is kind of stripped from you because your brain's turned against you.
Yeah, and I'm just worried that my brain could do that to me at any point.
I do think it is. I mean, it's definitely a tough job for the person growing the baby. Let's just acknowledge that. However, for the partner, your body doesn't change at all for those 9 months. So you don't have any of those hormones or like, for all you know, you could impregnate someone and then 9 months later to have like literally no awareness and their baby turns up. So I do think it is hard, and like you don't have like the hormones and like the connection to this little baby in the same way that the woman or whoever's had the baby. So like I do think that it is difficult. Like I think your fears are like valid in terms of being really nervous of the whole, and like what if I don't love you because you don't have I mean, everyone's experience is really different, and I do think it is very normal to have a baby and be a bit like for everyone, because
I'm just not good at sitting still.
I know you're, but
is holding a baby and just sitting still? Are you kidding me? I'm never still. I have to go on walks the whole time. I have to like I've bought like a Lego set because I just
I remember when you bought that Lego set.
I built that one. I built another. I'm going to build another one because I have to be doing something all the time. It's so mad. So just sitting there holding a baby. I
know, but they're not a baby forever.
I know.
They're very soon going to be building Lego sets with you.
Yeah, but I worry about, I really worry about, that's what I worry about.
But that's a way to not be forgotten.
But I also, I used to worry about, I used to catastrophize about everything.
Are you a catastrophizer?
You kidding me? Oh my God. Like, I'm much better now.
Yeah.
But at school, right? So I know, GCSEs. My thing always ended up with me homeless.
What?
Yeah. So, okay, GCSEs, I never revised. I literally never revised.
Right.
My revising for an exam was to wake up at 2 a.m. the morning of the exam, take loads of those caffeine pills to keep you awake,
Yeah.
and revise the entire time until my exam and then do the exam. That was my technique because it turns out I have obviously ADHD,
Yeah.
and there are so many dopamine things around me that sitting and revising was impossible to do. And so,
What did you think would happen? How are you ending up homeless from not revising?
Because-
Take me through this catastrophizing.
so I would fail my exams.
Fine.
That's what would happen.
Yep.
I'd be kicked out of school.
Yep.
Means I wouldn't get a job
Right.
because I'd failed all my exams, so I couldn't get a job.
Yep.
I wouldn't get a job, so I'd have to go onto the streets and I would have to beg for money because I wouldn't be making any money anywhere else, and I would then be homeless.
Wow. There is so many enormous leaps going on there.
That's how my brain works.
Like you've got no one in your family would have said, "Hey, John, I've got a spare room."
Yeah, no, none of that. I would just be. I would be. It would. I'd always end up
But
there.
catastrophizing is always just goes step, enormous leap to everyone's like the world's exploded.
Yeah, but I had that with everything. You know, the prime example is when I had a dead leg. I woke up in the morning, I had a dead leg, and it was like dead, and I was like, oh god, that's really annoying. Oh, why is my leg dead? And I went throughout the day having a dead leg, and at the end of the day, I went, oh, my leg's still dead. What is that? So I googled it, and it came up as MS.
Oh.
So I thought, well, that's not going to be good. So I phoned up a doctor because I couldn't go to the hospital. Got a 24-hour doctor come round to the house. And the doctor came round to the house and I said, I'm really sorry to call you here, but I think I have MS. And he went, you don't. It doesn't show up this way. And I said, no, I think you're wrong. I've got MS. And the doctor did tests and all these different things. Said, no, you have a dead leg. And I went, no, it's not a dead leg. It's MS. And I did that repeatedly for about 6 times to the point where the doctor went, you don't have fucking MS.
Really?
He swore at me. And I went, okay, are you sure? And he went, you don't. It's a dead leg. It's a dead leg. And then he left. Cost me £600 to get the doctor over. Woke up the next day, dead leg gone. So I catastrophize everything. And I'm now...
But you're better now?
Yeah, because being 36, I've experienced so many things that haven't come true.
Right.
That actually you can train your brain to go, well, maybe this time again, my brain is overacting.
It is just a dead leg.
And it's just a dead leg. Or maybe this time, it's not where you go, oh, it could be, this one could be.
Yeah.
And also, life is life, right? Like, what will be is what will be. You have to accept that. And life is beautiful and wonderful and amazing. And life happens. It's going to be ups, it's going to be downs. You know, I always got told that thing, life is like a heart monitor, right?
Yeah.
Goes up and down. It has to do that in order to survive. If you're flatlining, you're dead. So you have to have those peaks and troughs in order to continue in this world.
I was talking to someone about this yesterday and I was saying, I quite like when something goes a bit wrong because I'm like, oh, thank God. At least, because if things are going really well, I'm nervous.
Really?
I need something to be going wrong.
Like what?
So like when I first started here, I was like, great, I've got this great job. But my love life was just atrocious. And I was like, fantastic. And then, I don't know, and then, you know, you go on a good date or you have a good, you know, you meet someone that you're like, oh, maybe this is something exciting. And then work would be a bit shit. And I'd be like, great, the equilibrium is back. I can't have them both going good at the same time.
Oh, I want everything to be good all the time.
Really?
Yeah, I really like it when things are good. If things are
Do you
good...
know, I'm terrified. I'm like, if things are really good, I'm going to, like, if I have like a missed call from mum, I'm like, that's dead. Because they can't, like, it's not fair. Because, you know, do you not have that?
I lean much more into, I love it when things are going well. Like that, when everyone's happy and everything's doing well, that like feeds my soul like you cannot believe.
Oh.
It's like waking up and getting a message saying something like, we've booked a guest, or we've sold some sweets into it. That is like, that will fill my cup for like an hour and then for like a while, but like it's the best. Like I love, good news for me is like the best.
Oh, no.
I'm not a sufferer. I don't like suffering.
Fair. I don't mind. I just don't mind because I'm like, that's where the creativeness starts. You know, and you're like, once I wrote a to-do list on like a Saturday and one of the things on the to-do list was write a song because I was like, I've just got a lot of feelings going on and I just feel like today I'll write a song. I remember sitting down and being like, I don't know how to write a song.
Yeah, but that's good because you're challenging yourself. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think I wrote maybe a line. It's somewhere in my my notes somewhere.
That's my big thing for 2025 is to really challenge myself.
Yeah.
Like
You've got to start suffering then.
Totally.
Yeah.
So
I can make that happen. So Made in Chelsea, we were talking a bit about duty of care.
Yeah.
But it did make you very, very anxious. And I think anxiety is a thing that everyone feels at one point or another. We'll have moments of low and moments of high. And anxiety is like a very common thing. And for me, I've had moments where I felt really anxious and I felt like panicky. However, recently, I've also had times where my stomach's really hurt and I'm like, why have I got a tummy ache? And I'm like, oh, that's anxiety. And you know, it can manifest itself in so many different ways. So I'm really intrigued to know, like, what does it look like for you?
Really good question. And it really is. That's like my anxiety, the only way I can describe it was like living in fear all the time.
Like heart beating fast? Or...
It wasn't physical. It's like the most uncomfortable feeling of adrenaline running through your body, but a negative adrenaline. Not like you're about to jump off out of a plane, which is like quite exciting and oh my God. It's more like a feeling of like dread and horribleness and something is around the corner and it's going to be bad. That's what it feels like. And it was constant. I mean, all day, every day. Every day.
For how long?
Oh, my God. Well, I had a panic attack. I've said this before. I had a panic attack and when I was 23.
Was that the kind of Kickstarter of it?
Yeah. I nearly had a panic attack before that, which I now realise when I was in Starbucks and I thought someone was looking at me weirdly and I started to get panicky and I was like, oh, what the heck? That's a bit weird, whatever. But it didn't turn into one. I had a panic attack that I didn't know what the hell it was. It was awful. And because it was such high adrenaline for so long, this panic attack, that when it dropped, I felt so low because everything dropped. And this was, I was like by myself. And I remember going to bed and going like, there's no way I could live like this. Are you kidding me? Like, what is this? And I woke up the next day and it had relieved a little bit. And I was like, oh my God, what was that? And then it was like a light switch. It was like, my life changed from that moment because I then understood what anxiety was without knowing what anxiety is. And it was just like awful. It was awful. So I had it from 23 until like maybe 10 years.
I think it definitely, in my experience, anxiety is a lot of kind of those feelings, but basically it's like there's some sort of hurt, but you haven't worked it out. So like for me, whenever I felt anxious, I'm like, why do I feel this way? I feel these kind of nervous feelings. And it's because anxiety is not knowing what's upsetting you.
Yeah. And
it's that hunt.
Yeah. And also the problem with anxiety is the more you fight it, which I always did. I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. This can't be me. I don't want this. I don't want this. Hold on. Oh God, I need this feeling to go. What do I do? Maybe I eat chocolate at like 6 p.m. at night. Maybe if I sleep on my left shoulder at night, it will go. Maybe if I meditate 3 minutes a day on the dot at 6 a.m., it will go. Like I was always trying to find a cure for it. Oh, I've been eating too much ice cream. That's because my body's now cold. That's obviously anxiety because what it is, if I stop eating ice cream, it will get better. Oh, it must be because I'm drinking tea at night. 100% that's what it is. I was always trying to find an answer.
But you weren't looking, you didn't think, oh, it's probably maybe something I'm...
No.
Like it was always an external thing.
It's always external.
That's
it's because
really
I'm drinking too much. Oh, it's because of this. Oh, it was never internal. Because it can't be me. Because if it's me, then I'm not good enough. Because it's a weakness, I thought.
Yeah.
So it can't be me. It has to be other things causing it. And it took me ages. Beyond ages.
There's a real arrogance to that.
I think more fear. It wasn't arrogant. It was more fear because if I had accepted it was me,
yeah,
then it's going to be with me forever. And I can't have that. The doctor, when I finally went to the doctor after 6 months of feeling like on the verge of panic attacks every single day, and I said something's wrong with me. They said, you have anxiety. And I went, well, what's that? And they said, oh, it's like adrenaline and your fight or flight. And I went, well, how do I get rid of it? And they said, you can't. And I went, no, come on, what do I do to get rid of it? I went, you can't. And I said, well, what do I do? And he said, well, you have to learn to accept it. And I went, what?
Yeah.
I can't learn to accept this. Are you kidding me? Like, no, it needs to go right now. Like, it needs to go. And they said, no, you have to learn to accept it. And it's the worst piece of advice when someone starts to get anxiety because you're like, well, hang on, this is forever.
Yeah.
But it's the best piece of advice because when you actually do learn to accept it, then it's the road to freedom. And actually what taught me to accept my anxiety is when I got tinnitus. Oh. Yeah, so I got tinnitus about 8 years ago, which is basically a constant ringing in your head. Yeah. It's your noise in your head, it's ringing. And for me, it was like the worst noise and feeling in the world. But after someone said to me, you're going to have to learn to accept it. Treat it like an aircon in the room or a fan in the room. If you're thinking about hearing the fan, then you'll know it's there. But actually, you block it out. Your brain just blocks out. And after about 6 months, I learned to block it out. And I went, oh, maybe if I do that with anxiety, maybe if I just accept that I'm actually anxious and that's my makeup and that's okay, and actually figure out what has made me anxious in my life, then maybe that will be a better thing. And so that was around 28, 27, and then I started to do therapy and all those things. But for 6 years, I just, no ways.
That's mad to me that you didn't think to look for
no ways.
All external.
Oh, it's because I had a beer last night. That's what it was, 100%. Oh, it's because, I don't know, I didn't get enough sleep last night, yeah.
Are either of your parents anxious?
Yeah, my mum gets anxiety or has had anxiety, but she's very tough. Like she's like a bull.
Different generation.
Yeah, she's just, but she definitely has it, and you know it also comes hand in hand with I think ADHD and hyperfocusing. So I hyperfocus on stuff. Yeah. So if I have anxiety, imagine the hyperfocus that you have on anxiety. It's like that engulfs everything. So a lot of people who feel anxious, just go, oh, I feel a bit anxious. Oh, whatever. I go, huh.
Yeah.
And I lock onto it. It will not go.
Hence why a doctor saying you've got to learn to live with this is just...
Then I focus on that.
Yeah.
I got something called depersonalisation.
Yeah, what is that?
It basically, when your body has had so much stress and anxiety for so long, it can come from lots of different things. Your body goes on autopilot. So you basically feel like you're floating above your own body. So I woke up one day, I had an argument. It was like the straw that broke the camel's back. I had another argument with a girlfriend at the time. And it basically, a fog-like thing came over my eyes. You know, if you're like really tired or you've been really hungover, you feel a bit blurry. Yeah. It was like that constantly. And you basically are watching yourself. It sounds really weird. You're basically watching yourself above your body. Your body feels like a robot and you're watching yourself from outside of it because your brain is protecting you.
And for how long?
Oh, that was 6 months constant.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, while I was filming the TV show and pretending to. So I would go into scenes and not really know what I was saying. It was like my body was saying it and my brain was watching me say it. Yeah, it was awful.
Have you watched those scenes back?
No, I haven't seen any of it back. I never watched anything back. But that was quite bad for a bit. And then I went on holiday and I rested and it just like a light switch, it like lifted. I was playing backgammon and suddenly the fog just disappeared from my eyes.
Did you tell anyone? Like, how did you know that was what was depersonalisation?
Well, I had it for like a month. And I wouldn't want to open my eyes in the morning because I'd see this fog. So I just like keep them shut. Yeah, it was awful. And I finally went to a psychotherapist and he says you have something called depersonalisation. Again, latching onto something. And I said, what's that? And he said, well, anxious, well, all those things. He said, but also people who have psychosis get it. So I went, well, I've got psychosis. Yeah. So I thought I was going mad for 6 months. Yeah, it was not good. Yeah. So that was quite bad.
And did you do anything in those? So 1 month in, you go see a psychotherapist and you get that diagnosis. And then 5 months later, you go on a holiday and it switches. In those 5 intervening months, nothing?
No.
You just
had it. All day, every day. All day, every day. Every single day, boom, it was there. Boom, is there.
And were you in a relationship at the time?
Yeah, I was in a relationship with a girl called Frankie and didn't tell her about it. Like, I didn't tell her. I never spoke about that stuff, ever. I always just kept it in, never told anyone. Yeah. So I just dealt with it and then had to film scenes and just, because I thought if I admitted what was going on, you can't do this. You're sick. You can't do this. So I was like, okay. So I never told anyone, and then it lifted. And then for about 2 years after that, I was just always afraid it was going to come back. Yeah. So then I was so fearful the whole time. But it also led me down the road of therapy.
Yeah.
And therapy is the greatest thing, I think, because you then become self-aware and all these different things. Yeah, it was full on. Yeah, it was full on.
I didn't realise. I thought when you've explained it to me, and the idea of, in my head, I'm imagining you're like a ghost, like following.
It is. It's like that.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's like.
So that's my image of what when you've talked about it, and I just thought a day or two. Or a few weeks, 6 months.
Yeah, not my experience. My experience was like real bad. But mine was like leading towards it. But also, I was like drinking a lot, right? And I was drinking and not looking after my body, and like so many things. And I would go on like nights out and drink a lot, and wake up in the middle of the night and not really know where I was because my brain was so it was just bad. It was bad. It was just not a healthy, fun time.
You know, when you sit down, do you always have a first question in mind? Because sometimes I give you them and sometimes you don't. Do you ever? Because I find that's the most panicky moment when I'm like, shit, I've not given him a first question.
Well, okay, so the first question of an interview is really important, I think, because it sets the tone of how the interview is going to feel for the guest. So I think always about something that makes someone feel comfortable, because everyone's expecting to go, tell me about your childhood, or tell me about this, or tell me about your music, and so they're expecting that. So if you say something like, God, what do you eat? And do you have eggs in the morning? They're taken off guard, and as soon as you take someone off guard, then you can see in their eyes and their whole body just relax, because they're like, oh, I have scrambled eggs, actually. And you go, God, I love scrambled eggs. Do you know, I cook the best scrambled eggs ever. And then the really important thing with an interview, right, I think, this is all a personal take, is if you ask someone about eggs, and then they say scrambled, you straight away give an example of how you like scrambled, so they feel in a safe space because you're already sharing with them. So it's about it's taking someone off guard at the top, but then also sharing a story that relates to that as well, so you feel that you're in a shared space.
Where did you learn that, though? Have you learned that is that your own intuition, or is that have you done it wrong?
Oh, okay. So I learned that probably. Okay, so I grew up in a big family. So I had 5 brothers and sisters. Two were half sisters, Tash and Jems, who were older than me for my dad's first marriage. And then I had my older brother, who was called Alexander, the perfect child. Calm, relaxed, never cried, smart, blah. Then there was me, hectic as shit, as you can imagine. And then I had my little sister. So I wanted attention all the time. And so I found out ways to get attention, which was interesting. And then when you go to boarding school, you're thrown into an environment of people who are strangers. So what you have to kind of do is it's survival. You have to make friends. And everyone's different. So subconsciously, you're working out how to connect with people. Oh, that person over there likes Pokemon, so I'm going to talk to them about Pokemon. That person over there is quieter, so maybe I approach it a different way. That person's sporty, so maybe I talk to them about sport. So straight away, without realizing, you're learning individuals because you're with strangers all the time. And so I think boarding school for me was a place to learn. And then reality TV, when I did reality TV, you're thrown into a scene where you have to make it entertaining. And so you're straight away learning how to make things entertaining, because talking about the weather is boring. So you have to talk with people to make it entertaining. So I think that's where I learned it.
But I think what's interesting is lots of people go to boarding school.
Yeah.
Well, not a lot. I didn't. Well, actually, you're the only person I know who went to boarding school. However, some people go to boarding school, but I don't think everyone who does has that same mentality of like, you have to get people on side. Like there's like a really strong desire to be liked.
Yeah. So I think the question is, right, like do I have a real desire to be liked? Yeah, I have a real...
But what, like, as in to go into a room and be like, I need to get people on side, I need to like get, and I need to entertain people. that is not a normal thing. Like, it makes complete sense that you're like, oh, this is how I learned to interview people. This is how I learned to get people on side because of the X, Y, and Z experiences. But I think some people have those same experiences and don't view them in the same way.
Yeah. I had like weird things. Like I remember when I was 5, 6 years old, and I went to a school called Hatherwick Castle School, which was outside of London. And
How old were you then?
I must have been 4, 5, 6, 7. I left at 8, and it was before my parents got divorced when I was 8. So we lived in this sort of in the Cotswolds, and I still remember there that I had my friends there. A guy called John, a guy called Two Toms, a guy called Harry, and a guy called Josh. We were like the friends together. And out of a year of 30, I don't know, I used to do things where in the lunch time you could go to the hot food or you could go to the cold food, and you could pick what you wanted. You could go for the hot or you could go for the salads. I used to go to the salad queue, even though I didn't eat salads.
And you're like 4.
I was like 5,
right?
6 maybe,
Okay.
to see who followed me to the salad queue. To understand where I was in like a pecking order in terms of like, okay, who was following me, I was so conscious of like people almost like being, I suppose, the leader.
Yeah.
I was so conscious of that. And I think it was because I was such a people person, like people pleaser, that I wanted everyone to like me.
Yeah.
So I would do things like that the whole time. It was quite a strange thing from such a young age to have that sort of consciousness of like awareness of who people are.
That's mad.
Yeah, it was really mad, yeah. But I think that came from having 2 older sisters. And I had 2 older sisters, Tash, who would have been about 18 at the time, and Jems, who was 16.
So they're like over 10 years older than you.
Yeah, but they were in the stage where they were obsessed with boys. They were obsessed with like movies. It was a time of like Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt and these insane actors. And they had posters on their walls. You know, that's what it was like back in whatever, like the 90s.
Yeah.
And so I knew that I thought they were so cool. So they just talked about being cool all the time because that's what you do as a teenager. So I was like, okay, what is cool? Trying to understand what that is. Oh, being cool must mean being popular because these movie stars are all popular. And so not only did you have to be popular, you had to be like attractive because all they talked about was how hot Brad Pitt was and how hot Tom Cruise was. So I was like, well, what does this hot thing mean? So then you were conscious of like how you looked and things like that from a very young age because I had these older sisters, to the point where when I went to boarding school at 8 years old, I sat in the room of my first class. Mrs. Logan was my teacher. I still remember, I'm 8. And I looked around to all the boys, and there must be about 15 boys in there, and I thought, well, who's cool in the room? Who's cool? Who's cool? Who's cool? So I was so conscious the whole time of like awareness and things like that and being perceived as popular, I suppose. How that's odd.
A bit, but also I definitely have done things where I've like done like a course or something and I've gone into a room full of new people and I've just thought, does everyone fancy me? I hope they do. Is there anyone else who's competition for the most fancy?
So maybe it's a human thing that we actually do.
I think it's a Scorpio thing.
Do you?
Yeah. But the thing I was going to ask you is...
That's so interesting you had that though.
Yeah, but I sometimes think I'm maybe a psychopath. No, not really, but just like, because everything you're saying about wanting to be popular, wanting to be liked, I'm like, yeah. Which is why half of me is a bit like, I don't even know what to ask because that makes complete sense.
Yeah, but it's a complete curse.
Yeah.
Constantly analysing individuals and people and whereabouts and whether people like you or not. It's a curse because you're constantly thinking that. Some people just go into situations and don't even think that. They just accept it for what it is.
Yeah.
And, oh, that person's playing with me. That's great. And that person's handing me a sticker or that person's eating their food in that way. Whatever. They don't care. Where maybe you and I were just constantly analysing things.
Yeah. And it's definitely held me back from doing things, I think. You know, like I'll want to be the best or some. So say, for instance, I'm a producer. I probably would have very happily gone down a path to present, but I was like, I don't know if that's kind of it's the showy side of things. It's in front of camera, and I don't know whether I will be the best at it, or I'm going to have to like really, really like push myself. I think there are a lot of people in the industry who are producers who are like, who probably have that same thing of wanting to be, I think loads of people want to be the best at whatever, but the popularity thing, it's definitely like held me back from.
So you were nervous to do it because you were the fear of failure?
I guess so.
Yeah, but
you know, like, whereas I think also there's a level of, like for you, you know, like kind of oblivion as well of being like.
I don't have that fear.
Yeah.
I'm lucky in that sense where fear, so I definitely think that fear holds us back from doing so much stuff. And I'm quite lucky where I never really had that. So, for example, when I was offered the Made in Chelsea show, right? Reality show, and I was like 21, 22 at the time, every single person was like, don't do it. Oh my God, you're this, you'll be that, it'll be a loser, all that kind of stuff. And I went, I don't really care what everyone thinks they're really about it. But I care so much what people think. But actually, in that sense, I don't care what people think because I think I'll be really good at that. So I always had a sense of like not doing stuff because I was scared to do it. And I think so many people do have that they won't do something because they're scared of failure or scared of not achieving something or scared that they're going to be judged.
It's a real barrier. But also when you just said that, you were like, I didn't care what people think, but I cared what people think. Like you didn't care what your family thought, but you also, because you want it, do you see?
I care. I care what my friends and family think. I don't care what other people think so much.
But you didn't care what they thought of you doing Made in Chelsea?
No, I didn't care what my family thought.
It's interesting. Like there's a level of I really care what people think, but also throwing it in like the bin and being like, fuck it, I'm just going to post this thing and I'm going to take the opportunity.
Well, I think the worst thing is like to live with like, I've said this before, but I never forgot it. When I was 14 years old, I really fancied this girl. I fancied her so much. I've said this before, but I have to repeat it. I really fancied this girl, and we were sitting on the rocks, and we were like chatting so much with each other, and it was like the best night ever. And I'd fancied her for so long, and we then had this moment where we sat in silence, and I didn't kiss her because I was too nervous. And then 3 weeks later, I was like, why the hell didn't I just kiss her? That rejection I would have got, or may not have got, would have passed by now. I'd have been embarrassed for that moment, but it would have gone. And I had that moment to try it, and I didn't do it. And I went, and honestly in my head, I went, well, I'm never going to let that happen again.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, there's a real fear with like doing things like, I don't know, posting on social media or taking the job opportunity or asking for a pay rise or asking the person on a date. There's a fear of rejection there for sure, but that's only a fleeting moment. If you never actually do it, the sort of regret is worse.
100%.
And so what you should do is you should throw yourselves into situations because, yeah, it's scary within that moment, but actually that moment then passes, but the regret of not doing it, I think, is a little bit worse. That's what I think.
Do you still get fear of, is there anything that you're still fear of being rejected for?
Not so much rejected. I don't mind rejection. Because I've been rejected like a hell of a lot. Like so much. I don't mind rejection. I mind, I have a real fear of being forgotten.
Okay.
So,
what does forgotten like to who?
Well, yeah, I think I have a real fear of being forgotten. So, and forgotten means like, so that's what really drives me.
Okay.
That's my real drive, I would say. So doing something like Made in Chelsea is like a drug to someone like me because what happens is that you get, you're seeking validation your entire life. And where does that come from? I don't know, divorce or boarding school or whatever it is, but you're seeking validation the entire time. And the validation you think comes from everybody else like cheering you on. So then doing a television show like Made in Chelsea, which was a reality show around yourself, you gain this sort of small popularity and you think that's going to like cure everything. And you're going to get this validation from so many people out there and they're all like strangers. You don't even know them, but you think it's going to cure everything. And it doesn't heal you at all. And so now what sort of drives me is the sense of being forgotten in a business sense. So not growing a business and people go, oh, wasn't it that guy who like tried to grow that sweet business and it didn't quite work? Or wasn't that guy who used to be on TV and then really didn't do anything? And so for me, it's like that sense of being forgotten by individuals. That's still quite scary within me, because I'm probably driving towards stuff more, it was for other people rather than myself, I suppose.
Also, that's an example of when fear is probably quite good.
What do you mean?
Your fear of being forgotten is propelling you to do things that you want to do.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So, Jamie, we like to finish every episode with the same 8 questions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever thought about the answers to this?
No, I'm going to just fire them out.
I think about the answer to this all the time.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, what's a saying or a phrase that always makes you smile or cheers you up?
Shall we have shots? It's so great, isn't it?
I love the energy of shots.
Isn't
There's
it
no
so
other
great?
drink where you're like, ah!
And you're just look, drinking and stuff I totally get is nothing. But when someone says, let's have shots, and they do it in like a bit of a whisper, you're just like, let's go.
We're about to have a fun night.
And I don't think that will ever leave me.
I love
like
that.
That is like the best.
That's fun.
Man, it's the greatest.
Okay, what's the best compliment anyone's ever given you?
Probably saying that I'm kind. That's probably a good one, isn't it?
You are very kind.
That is a good one.
What scares you most about yourself?
My brain, that it will overpower me.
It will overpower you?
Yeah, it would like,
It
will just one day just go, see ya, and it will go. Yeah, that scares me.
Oh, fair.
Yeah.
I actually think I'll die from madness.
Yeah, that's what I worry about.
Yeah.
I worry about that.
Bit dark.
Yeah, dark.
Sorry. When was the last time you cried and why? And don't say that bloody scarf commercial.
Oh my God. Okay, when was actually the last time I cried and why? I don't really cry. I hold a lot of emotion in me, I think. So whenever anyone is talking about proud things, that's when I cry. So like I watch a lot of things on TikTok which are like military people coming home to their wives. That makes me cry a lot.
Oh yeah, that's really emotional.
Yeah, like anything that's like that. Anywhere where I'm allowed to release emotion, which is not about me, I can cry. But if I really thought about stuff, I could probably cry.
Oh really?
Yeah, probably.
When was the last time you had a personal cry?
God, when I think about my parents not being around, that can make me quite sad.
Yeah, you get really emotional when people talk about that.
Yeah, that would be really bad. That would
Yeah.
not be fun. And like not saying the things I want to say. Like I could even just do it now. Not saying the things I want to my loved ones before they go. That would be awful.
Do you find it difficult to say those things?
Yeah, and so I now make sure that I like have sent messages to my parents or written them letters. I'm going to write letters for Christmas.
Really?
Yeah, saying to them what I think about them.
Me and my brother once wrote a card to my dad for his birthday, and we were like, let's try and make him cry. And we gave him this card and watched him read it, and he just like wept, and we were like, oh no.
It's actually too much.
We were like, oh God, we've really gone in.
Yeah, this is not
there.
so good actually.
But I find it, I feel exactly the same. And when I'm with my family, you know, just saying something like, this is really lovely to all be together, I actually think I'm going to be sick.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't say that.
I can't say that. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot. Not saying it, but thinking it, like, can cry. Yeah.
Yeah. What's something you can't let go of?
Probably the desire to entertain and to be loved. Yeah.
Fine. That's fair. That's very fair. What's your guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure is bread. Man,
That's not a guilty
Well,
pleasure.
it is. Okay, guilty-
Everyone likes bread. And also, everyone who likes bread thinks they're unique in liking bread. Guys, everyone likes bread.
Chick flicks. I love yeah, chick flicks.
Which one?
Oh, like anything, like from Mean Girls to like 10 Things I Hate About You, like all that vibe. Love it.
I mean, those are both great films. What turns you off?
Rudeness, hate it.
And what turns you on?
Passion and like anything, passion about anything. Like it could be about a piece of grass. Like passion about anything makes me go yes.
Okay. And what do you like most about yourself?
I like the way that I can make people feel comfortable in situations.
Yeah, that's a great one. And bonus, your favourite swear word?
Shit.
Really?
Shit. Yeah. Shit.
Very nice. Okay, Jamie Laing, thank you very much.
Well, Rathan, thank you very much.
Whee!
Bye bye.